Now it's time to get to the quarterback rankings.
Oh, yeah.
Your bread and butter.
Bread and butter.
You broke the internet
Yep.
365 days ago or around then when you ranked Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence. And, I know on Wednesday you're going to get into it. You'll look back with Paul.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to sing your praises just for a second.
Okay, thank you.
You saw red flags in Trevor Lawrence last year. I think we all saw that. You were higher than most on Mac Jones. Well, some may say he was the most impressive rookie quarterback, so that was a win for you.
Thank you, Ahmed.
You saw some red flags and a longer way to go with Trey Lance, and maybe now the 49ers see that too. And you saw some passing game issues with Justin Fields while you ranked him lower, and I think we saw that. So you had a lot of wins. You had a lot of wins.
Thank you. And he was better than Justin Fields. I will say that too. That I was wrong in some areas where he did show the ability to be a little bit smoother of a thrower, more consistent, and a better decision maker. Again, it's hard. You're going to be wrong in this business doing this all the time. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
And we also saw Zach Wilson in some highlight level stuff too, to where you go, damn, that was pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. I can see why maybe he had him number one. I still think Simms is an idiot, but okay, it's not as idiot as I thought with some of the plays we saw. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, this is a different class than last year.
Okay, so let's start with that. We got questions from the homies. They didn't know where you ranked these guys, but they had questions about these guys. And so we've sprinkled some of those in. Pete has hooked up our rundown with that. This is from Jason B91. Is this class really as weak as advertised, in your opinion? Often analysis spread the narrative, and the class ends up being good. See the 2017 quarterback draft class. And he goes back to that class with Deshaun Watson, who was,
Mahomes,
12th overall. Mahomes with 10th overall, so which is still high, but not like 1, 2, 3.
No, they
like
should have been higher,
last year. So, what do you think? Is this draft class as down as people are saying?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It is. It's not a special class, and that's where I think even when you look at it like we talked about it a little earlier with like the Commanders at pick number 11 going, you know what? I know Carson Wentz is a lightning rod quarterback, but damn, we'll take him because I think there's questions about this class, and I understand that. I think one maybe the high-end talent isn't as talented as we've seen in years past, and there's certainly not the depth that we've seen in years past. I mean, for me and my money, after the top 5 or 6, it really falls off. Like, really falls off. To where, we've had plenty of other years where we can go down to 8 or 9 and go, oh, I like, he's got a backup future. I mean, it's an underwhelming class. It is for sure.
So you're talking maybe 1 through 5. You already might be saying backup future for some of these guys.
The 1 through 5 is not as strong as usual. The 1, 2, 3 is not as strong as usual. Mm-hmm. The 1 is not as strong as usual, in my opinion. Yes, I think last year with somebody like Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence, I saw it all. The talent, right way to handle yourself, the toughness, can read the field, right? And now we just got to put it together in the NFL. These guys, there's some pieces missing with all of them that you go, oh, I wish he had this and then he'd be perfect, or he's got to work on this to become a little bit better. And I think we got that, let alone, like I said, after you get out of the first few guys, you start to go, ooh, there's not a lot of like elite traits with any of these quarterbacks going down the list.
All right, so we'll look at the good, the bad from your top 5 quarterbacks in this draft class, and we'll start with number 5. Let's kick it off.
Number 5 will be Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. Yes, sir. Desmond Ridder. First off, I'll say this. I really like the guy, meeting him in Combine, right? Is got a great personality, acts like a quarterback. You can tell he's quick on his toes. I love all that stuff. But, like his body, all right, I'll say that. I think it's a guy that's going to continue to grow into his body, too. I mean,
6'4", 215 is what I got here.
Right, and got a lot of room to get thicker. And, again, guys usually get bigger as they get older. And that, to me, is going to be a natural. He's one of the only guys in this class, Ahmed, that I would say right off the bat, too, is that his size is a skill. He can throw over the line of scrimmage. He can throw over people when they're in his face and in the pocket. That's one thing I will say for sure that I like about his game and just the measurables, just as far as that is concerned. But then after that, there is some issues here. It's below average throwing as far as at this point for an NFL starting quarterback. Right? There's some major tweaks that have to be done in his throwing that are a little concerning to me.
Throwing motion,
the quality of the football altogether, being able to step on the gas pedal and still be able to control the ball the right way. I think there's all of those issues, let alone you don't get to see a ton of NFL-type throws always within that offense. Now, hey, the running's real, right? It's a build-up speed a little bit, okay? But the read option is going to be a real threat for Desmond Ridder in the NFL. He is one of those guys that, read option, he keeps it around the edge. He can go for a 70-yard touchdown. The speed is worthy of that. But out of some of the guys we're going to talk about right here in this class in the top 5, in the pocket, got the worst feet in the pocket out of any of the top guys. No doubt about it. I mean, and what I mean by that is forget the drops. I'm just talking about, proper way to move your feet when moving in the pocket or delivering the throw. But has too much of the just stand there like a statue and then, wait, my feet are just in the ground, cemented, not moving. Oh, wait, now I'm going to throw it. That's hard to do that all the time. Or not have any bend in your throw or in your legs and pop that way to really pop that back leg underneath you so you can really drive a football. There's those issues. The arm itself, like I said, is not that strong, let alone there is some mechanical issues. Lets his arm get a little floppy, right? You've heard me, a little elongated at times. He's not a good short ball thrower. And, again, short ball throwing is really important in the NFL. I like guys that can throw lasers and do all that. But you got to be able to hit the 5 and the 8 yard passes consistently to be able to open up the lasers 30 and 40 yards down the field. And that's a little bit of a worry with me, with the elongated motion and a lack of accuracy and precision in those throws. So I think that bothers me too. And like I said, the mechanical issues lead to some of those things where you go, oh, this has got to get fixed, or he's just going to be doing it or trying to do it with God-given talent, and that's just too hard to do all the time.
So you say one of his strengths is his size and being able to throw over guys, but in your conversation with him, he had some issues with that, specifically against Alabama. He goes, man, those 300-pound guys can jump there.
Sure.
But the problem is those 300-pound guys who can jump are going to also play in the NFL.
Yes.
And so maybe that's part of the motion and doesn't maybe throw as high.
That's what it is.
Or slow. And
it's there. There you go. You said it when you first brought it down. Yeah. It's the elongatedness. It's the kind of, you can kind of see it coming. It's a little, and I'm going to stand up now here. But,
oh, boy, here we go.
Here we go. First stand up of the draft year. But, yeah, it's again, what really bothers me is the throwing to his open side. And, of course, he's righty, and that would be his open, and I'm lefty, and this side's my open.
Keep your lefty.
I'll just keep my lefty,
We'll mirror image.
Because I know you're sick of hearing me say that anyways. But yes. So, again, too many get the ball, and the feet just do this, right? They don't do anything. There's no, okay, let me get ready to throw and be on the balls of my feet a little bit so I can react to do it.
Stuck to the ground.
Just stuck to the ground. I caught it, and now I'm just going to, my feet and everything are just flat-footed in the ground, and I'm going to make a throw like that. I don't love that. Then, to your point with the Alabama game, and all that, you can anticipate the delivery too much. He's standing there. The motion, the ball can drop and get far behind him at times, right? To where the arm angle can break. I don't necessarily like that. And the other thing that he really does, especially throwing balls to his open side, his right side, is, again, if I'm going to throw a ball right here at the camera, you want to get a little of this. You want to see the back of my, the name, the back of the numbers on the back of my jersey, on my nameplate a little bit.
Some torque, some shoulder rotation.
Torque, some opposites, right? Like a golf swing, whatever. He too much is just, it's here, and the arm just goes by itself. And that doesn't help him spin it or throw nice spirals. It doesn't help his accuracy. It's hard to have a quick release like that because your body's not being involved, right? So your arm has to do it all by itself, right? Guys like Rodgers and Mahomes, when you say they can flick it, what you really mean is they can get their body into the throw where they don't have to use their arm that much, where they can go and just do this and be like, oh, man, he flicked it. But they know how to use their body to where we think of it as just a flick.
Yeah, and we talk about this every year.
Yeah.
How much of this can be learned?
It's a tough thing. I know. That's where, there's some upside to this player, but we don't talk about a whole lot of people through the history in the NFL that always fix these issues. And part of that is getting with the right people in the offseason, being drafted by the right team that can fix you. And not all teams can do that. So that's why I got him number 5. There's things I do like, certainly, like I talked about.
So hold on real quick, because we're on this throwing motion. JScan11 says, do you see any similarities in Desmond Ridder's throwing motion and Carson Wentz's throwing motion from his college days, early NFL years?
Yes. I mean, well, I know what he's trying to say here. It's the floppy arm a little bit. Wentz has a little bit of that, what I don't like, what we even talked about with Justin Fields last year. Again, is he leads through his elbow. His elbow starts the motion, which I want to go, really, there's really like no quarterbacks in the history of football that are great that we go, the elbow starts the motion, right? And yes, there can be some of that flop. Now, it's not quite like that, but I think what our at JScan11 is trying to talk about is, yes, it's too army. The arm gets too loose at times, and that does compromise accuracy and power and all of that. Really, so many of his great throws or his best throws, the people are wide open. That's the hard thing, too. You just don't see a lot of tight window, legit NFL-type throws that way. Throws a pretty good deep ball. I like that, yes. But, his ability to pinpoint an 18-yard in-cut, as it being the second read and all that. I got major questions with that when it comes to Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, and he wasn't able to show it against good competition, playing at Cincinnati for the most part. But you mentioned there are good things with him. He's got leadership. He improved every year. And perhaps the throwing doesn't need to be quite as on point because he's a pretty good runner. Over 2,000 career rushing yards, 28 touchdowns in his 4 years rushing the ball at Cincinnati. So are there enough good to offset some of that bad? Oh, boy.
Well,
Desmond Ridder's going to be like, I didn't even want to be ranked. If this is what Chris was going to do to the...
Well, he's a good athlete. He's got to get quicker feet in the pocket like we talked about.
Right.
Out of some of these guys, all these guys we're going to talk about here, they can pop around the pocket and make people miss better than he can. They can. Let alone the other thing he's not a great thrower on the run. Because of that long motion and he doesn't quite know how to incorporate the upper body, on the run it's more important than ever, and it becomes very hard for him that way. So there's some physical traits there to build on, but there's just not a lot of evidence yet to go, oh, okay, he definitely can do it. There's snippets here and there, I guess is what we're trying to say.
Yep.
But base can get very narrow, which can lead to long strides, which also is into the, whoa, I can see it coming. I can knock the ball down because here comes this long stride, right? There's those issues. And, the quality of the football, the strength of the arm, I don't want to say it was disappointing, but it wasn't quite what I was expecting. I thought I was going to see a little bit more from Desmond Ridder.
Maybe this is all because he made fun of the way you said Louisville. He didn't like that when you talked to him.
I'm getting him back now.
You go, my dad's from there. He's like, how can you not say it when your dad's from there? So this is your revenge, though.
Yeah, they're just, yeah. And then, again, this will be something you'll continue to hear me say with a lot of these guys, because this is life in the college football too. Yeah, there's very few on rhythm NFL type throws. Mm-hmm. A lot of the really good throws are kind of game plan, slant and go. We tricked him and he's wide open. He's a great straight line athlete. He is. But the four guys we're going to talk about, as good as an athlete he is and how much faster he is than the four guys before him, his feet are not as quick and he's not as twitchy and quick as some of these other guys are in the pocket. So that bothers me. And then, like we said, the long, slow delivery and doesn't always spin the ball hard, does not always have great power on the ball. There's those mechanical flaws that he's got to fix to help that out. And that'll go a long way. And, NFL is certainly going to help it out to a degree. It's just how much does it help it out?
Well, he said this coming out of high school and in college. You're gonna pass on me. You're probably going to pay for it. He said that in your interview. So, hey, who knows? Maybe some NFL teams are going to pass on him, and he's going to make him pay for it.
Yeah, I hope he does. I hope he makes me pay for it. And number 5, like I always said, this is nothing personal. I got to do these rankings, right? And these are just some of the things I see from him. I do. But there is some positives to build on. But yeah, I guess all in all, I guess I was expecting just a hair more.
All right. So you saw a hair more in your number 4 ranked quarterback in the draft class of 2022, and that is
Sam Howell, North Carolina. Yeah, I'm going with Sam Howell. All right. So first off, Sam Howell, good in the pocket. There's a toughness and grittiness to his game that shows on the film. He's willing to stand in there, take shots, definitely. Not like the fastest guy in the world, but he is mobile, and he's got a great pair of legs and ass on him that allow him to break a lot of tackles, make people miss within the pocket, do all that. I like that aspect about him. As far as like what we'll talk about here going forward, he's one of the few guys in this draft that I look at that can really go across the field right? And read defenses where you go, oh, wait, there's plenty of plays of Sam Howell on here going 1 to 2 to 3. Good throw. All right. So there's that. You know, he does have the ability to throw the ball with some different platforms a little bit, and he does have a good hand. And what I mean by that sometimes is he can just make it happen. I wrote in my notes a few times, like, there's got to be talent because the position his body is in to make this throw is pretty remarkable that he can even make this throw because he's got some mechanical issues too. He does. I mean, I don't like Sam Howell's motion. It's way too over the top. Way too. It's like, it's the old school, like 1974, you got to get the ball high, right? And I want to be like, no, Josh Allen and Rodgers and Mahomes are throwing the ball 3/4. You don't have to get it high. You don't. That's so old school thought. So he's got that a little bit. That does, you know, again, compromise accuracy and power on the ball. I mean, all you got to do is look at the combine. Go watch some of the throws on there. He throws some balls at people's feet because it's just like, he's trying to be smooth and make it happen, and there's no mechanics to rely on. He's just trying to do it with talent, right? But, you know, between that stuff, you know, the ability to throw the nice deep ball, and you do see moments, like I talked about, going through reads, and also moments of, there's a handful of, I go, whoa, that was a pretty good throw there. Wow, he threw that in cut there. That was between two people, or he looked front side and came backside and threw a backside slant into a tight window and ripped it. And threw it nice. So those are the things I liked about Sam Howell. You know, he's got experience. His arm is good. He had the strongest arm at the combine as far as miles per hour. But it's also a little bit of a long, elongated over-the-top release that I don't think is, great. He throws it hard. It's going to compromise some of his accuracy is what I'm trying to say there. Yeah.
He is one of the younger guys, and I think of your top 5, he is the youngest, 21 now. He'll turn 22 in September. And you mentioned the deep ball.
Yeah.
PFF looked at him. They said he's the most prolific downfield passer we have seen. I think he just did it a lot.
He did. They did. They had some good talent.
That was their offense, right? They relied on his arm.
They threw screens and go routes for the most part. You're like, oh, here's the screen. Oh, wait, here's the go route. Here's the screen. Here's the go route.
He dropped off. Now, people saying, his stock dropped a little bit from last year. And then they go, yeah, he could have maybe been number 1 overall based on what he did 2 years ago. And I go, well, yeah, then his stock did drop significantly if you don't have him as the number 1 quarterback even anymore in a down draft class. So, but what do you make of that? He looked significantly better 2 years ago, with more talent. You had Michael Carter, you had Javonte Williams, the 2 running backs, you had De'Ami Brown, a receiver you like too.
Yeah, right.
Did he get worse? Was it just the talent around him? Like, what happened
I just think it was overhyped at first. It was like, whoa, look at this freshman. He's got potential. He's making some plays. They're throwing deep balls down the field. They're starting to win games again, and his stats look pretty good. Like we always talk about, it just takes off from there. But yeah, it never got a whole lot better from there.
Okay.
He's played a lot of football. Like I said, he sees the field well. Now, one of the negatives is he does hold the ball too much at times. He's a little too patient. He takes some sacks a little bit like maybe a Joe Burrow or whoever out there where you go, gosh, not every, my old phrase, not every play has to be the last play of the game here where you got to hold on to it and, I'm going to break this tackle and I'm still going to get that ball up. Oh, no, he got sacked for a 20-yard loss.
Yeah, he does break tackles, though.
He does.
As a runner. He had over 800 yards, and I think he had 65 broken tackles throughout the year, and so he's got kind of like that Ben Roethlisberger mentality in a frame that is more like Baker Mayfield, and actually he looks a lot like Baker.
He does, a little bit bigger. He plays like Baker Mayfield
too. The way he talked to you I was like, this is like a
He's
Baker
a Baker
clone.
Mayfield. It's gritty. It's who he reminds you of a little bit. He doesn't have the arm Baker Mayfield does. He doesn't, but I do think his movement and athleticism will probably translate better to the NFL because he's a bigger human. And like you talked about, the power in his legs is real. When you see it, you go, man, it's a lot of arm tackles, splits a lot of defenders who think, oh, wow, I'm just hitting a quarterback. I don't have to really bring it. Yeah. And they just bring the shoulder and he stays up and keeps his balance. So all that stuff is really good. There is a lot of that, like the Baker Mayfield thing. But again, what I would say is, there's potential for him to be a better thrower again, like Ridder. If somebody could teach him, let's not be so over the top. Let's incorporate the front shoulder, all right? Because you do see there's a few throws where you say, oh, wow, that had some heat on it. There's just not enough, and there's not consistently enough of it. That bothers me. And because of that, he will miss some throws too because I'm going to stand up again. just to get into a little bit of like, the motion and the weird motion. We talked about like Desmond Ridder doesn't move that front shoulder a whole lot, right?
Right.
And the arm can be floppy. Howell keeps his arm in a good position. The angle never breaks. He never gets his shoulder to the target. Never. And that's where I say sometimes I'm going, damn, it's amazing he even hits that target. I don't know how the he even does it with some of the positions he's in. Like, and to point it out, like, again, if I'm throwing here to the camera, right? I mean, he's like this to throw the ball to the camera.
Totally open.
He's going to be totally
chest
open,
toward the camera.
chest to the target. He's going to get a little shoulder turn, but it's going to get nowhere near the actual target. And then he's going to give it it's going to come way over the top, right? It's like this almost every throw. And again, that's hard to have a quick release that way.
Hard to be accurate.
It's hard to be accurate that way, right? It's a lot of moving parts. You're getting a kind of a herky-jerkiness over the top throwing motion there. So those would be the things that worry me about him. But there are things to like, certainly, like I said. And I do think he's got a presence on the field and a leadership style that you could see is a little bit infectious. Even on film, you could see it.
Yeah, I mean, he takes full credit for kind of his mentality helping that program get back on the map, get back in the national relevance.
Right.
And so it's like it's kind of cool to see it, and it doesn't come off in like a cocky way, and at least in his talk to you.
No, it's just
like a confidence guy. Like, this is what I'm here to do. I think I can do it really well.
Yep.
And then you go, well, you just got to work on your front shoulder.
Yeah, you got to work on your front shoulder, because really the only throws you ever see him really rip, right?
Yeah.
Because you kind of said it. Everything's a go ball, a jump ball, a back shoulder throw, some sort of wide receiver screen. But the only throws you ever see him rip are ones that I would go, they're safe for a quarterback. The curl route, right? Run 12 yards, button hook in, right? Okay, you kind of know where he's going to go. It's a fucking curl route. You've been throwing that one since you're 5 years old. So he rips that. The slant route, he'll rip that every now and then. But I think with other routes that are a little more intricate at times, when he does try to rip those a little bit and accuracy is a little bit more in play and putting it in between guys and all that, you don't see as many there, and he can lose control of it. And I think that's some of the negatives there. He's not a first round talent, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
No way.
I was gonna see how many of these quarterbacks were first round talent.
Well, here's quarterback number 4, and he's not a first round talent.
Okay.
For me, again, Sam Howell. To me, is a really an end of the second, really what I would probably look at as a third round quarterback. Wow. Honestly, again, that's I don't think it's crazy. There's nothing wrong with that. I was drafted in the third round, so you. Don't judge on that.
That's bad. That's low. That's very low.
But I don't see first round talent. There's some things you got to fix, and I don't. Maybe end of second round. Okay, I could see that. But for me, probably I'm more of a third round guy. Honestly.
All right, last thing from @Kissard3. What's the ceiling with Sam Howell? So say that these questions you have about him,
right?
He's able to fix some of them, get his body more into it, and to start doing it. Like he's a strong guy. Maybe add something in the running game.
Yeah.
Like if everything kind of goes right, or as right as it can for him, like how good can he be in the NFL?
I think he can be if he could fix. Let me get my shoulder to the target and not be so over the top. Now, again, these are big fixes.
Yeah.
Again, these are things where we talk about them every year in the draft, and I go, and here we are 6 years later, and remember that thing I said to you? It still hasn't really been fixed.
Because if you thought he could fix them, he would not be a third-round talent. He would be a first-round talent.
If I really thought, or I saw enough evidence on film to go, there's this one motion I don't like, but damn, I saw 40 other throws of the right way, and I went, oh, he can do it.
Yeah.
It's there. I didn't really see that, but if he can fix that, and again, that's a big if, right? He can be a starter in the NFL for a long time. I don't know if I'm not, it's hard to tell what his arm would look like if he could fix some of those type of things, like you talked about. I think it could be Baker Mayfield-ish, right? I think that's the guy I look at to go if he can do it. But Baker, he gets his front shoulder in. He doesn't try to get over the top. With Baker, sometimes what we talk about is he tries to overthrow too hard. You go, your arm's plenty strong. Why are you trying to throw it harder? So that's the guy I look at.
Because the beard is very similar. He's already got a beard exactly like Baker Mayfield.
When you have mechanical issues, and then you also go, oh man, not as many NFL type throws as you'd like, and you don't see the consistency you'd like. that's when you go, oh, I mean, it is a true projection. You know, I know like Josh Allen, people question things, but I went, wait, the motion's fucking perfect. Like, you don't ever have to worry about it ever. And he puts the ball exactly where he wants to almost every throw. You know, now the problem was he thinks he can like, oh, there's a keyhole. I'm going to fit it through there, and then it's going to make a right-hand turn, and I'm still going to get it in there to my guy, even though he's quadruple covered.
Yeah, if he's off by 5 inches, it's an interception.
Yeah, those are his issues, right? Yeah. Those were his issues. So there's a difference there, and what needs to be done. And like I said, it's even though there's a lot of good, there's some parts there where I go that those are some big fixes too.
Okay, so we're into the top 3 now.
Yep.
Who probably still have some fixes, but maybe not as much as the 2 quarterbacks you just mentioned. Your number 3 quarterback in the draft class is?
Malik Willis from Liberty. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm going Malik Willis. I mean, love Malik Willis's arm, first off, right off the bat. It's a special arm. There's no question. I mean, it's he can make every throw on the football field with ease. Like one of those where, again, you turn on the film and you go, oh, wait, damn, did he really throw that 20-yard out route that easy? Like, that looked really easy. Whoa, okay, whoa, that ball is flying through the air. You know, so I love that. You know, and as a thrower, too, keeps his body in the right positions. You know, understands how to use the front shoulder. His motion is nice. I like his motion. I wish it's a hair floppy, again, like we talked about, a little bit, you know, but not to where I saw like Justin Fields last year and all of that. No. So that I really do like. I mean, his ability to throw deep balls on the outside that are power throws, you know, they're effortless. Yes. The running, the athlete, Malik Willis. He is, how do I want to phrase this? He's a gifted runner. I don't think he's necessarily real fast. All right. I don't think he's faster than Pickett or Corral straight away. I'm just going to say that flat out right now. Not to say that doesn't mean he's not a better runner.
Because there are some people that say maybe he could be draftable as a running back if he switched positions.
If he was that fast, he would have ran at the combine and said, "I'm not worried about it." To me, and then when I watched the film, I went, "Oh, this is why he didn't run at the combine. He didn't run at the combine because I don't think the time is going to be that special. But where he is good is he can accelerate pretty good, and he's got an incredible pair of legs, an ass on him. And he understands how to set up blockers like a running back. That's where it's probably, to me, where it's from. He literally understands, like, if they run a quarterback design run, the guard pulls, he understands, like, oh, I'm going to get the defender to go here so I can cut here behind the blocker. Or I'm going to be real patient because this play hasn't quite developed yet, and then I'll kind of work my way through like a running back. There is true running back traits there, let alone because we talked about the strength in his legs. He breaks a ton of tackles, a ton of arm tackles, bounces off people, and he has very good quickness and ability to make people miss in the space. So that's where he's good.
PFF had him as the most missed tackles for any player in college football last year, including running backs.
So there you go. Now, the question with all that, too, is if I put Matt Corral and Kenny Pickett against some of that competition, their running would have looked better, too.
Yeah.
And that's where I guess I'm a little bit like, I'm not sure. How good is the running? I'm not sure. Because he wasn't running like that against Ole Miss. I could tell you that. He played Ole Miss. The running didn't look like that. He had some runs and some scrambles that you go, wow. But it wasn't like, oh, man, he's going to break the pocket or they're going to run quarterback design runs, you know, on Ole Miss all day, and they're going to be in trouble, all right? So that's where, you know, gifted runner, how gifted, I'm not exactly sure, all right? That's where I'm not quite sure about the athlete of Malik Willis.
Okay, so
a
couple questions here.
Don't worry, I got more to say, but you keep asking me.
We got 3 homies that have got questions because this is kind of a polarizing.
He seems to be the polarizing guy.
It seems like I see some lists he's down there at 6. I see some lists are like 2, and some are like, hey, if the Lions have, you know, like what they see in his pro day workout, maybe he goes number 2 overall. So a split opinion on him.
No way would I take Malik Willis in the top 10 of the NFL draft. I'm just going to say that right now.
Okay,
I'm not. You know, again. All of these guys, I don't know if they're really worthy top 10 picks in the NFL draft. I'm just going to say that right now. I know we even got to the top 2. It's debate. To me, they're really not. They're really not. Now, we know the quarterback position, teams get desperate and all that. But I don't look at any of them as just go, oh, when it was Mahomes and Watson that year, I was going, I don't get it. Mahomes is the number 1 pick in the draft. I don't get it. What's there not to like other than the record for the team at Texas Tech? And that we hadn't seen a quarterback come out of Texas Tech. So that was all there was. This is what I look at and I go, no, I don't know if anybody is quite in that class.
Braden Shackelford writes in, how does Malik Willis compare to Trey Lance as a prospect? He goes, obviously both dynamic runners, albeit different styles. Both have cannons, both coming from small schools. So, there are some similarities. How about the football player?
I think he's not as fast as Trey Lance, I don't think. I think he's actually a more naturally gifted runner, though, to what we're talking about, right? Like, I don't think Malik Willis is going to be the guy where you go, oh, my, he dropped back and there was a gap right here, and it's going to be like Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray or Josh Allen. They're going to take off for a 40-yard run. I don't think you're going to see that. I don't think that's really what he is. I think he's going to be able to make people miss and dip and dive and then get out of the pocket and then, watch out. He's going to try to unleash the Kraken and throw a 40-yard laser across the field. That's where I see, I like that. I also, like I said, in the running, where quarterback design runs, like Josh Allen, it's 3rd and 2. We're at the 2-yard line. It's 3rd and goal from the 2. They're going to be able to legit pull guards and do that and go, he can handle himself against a middle linebacker and do all that. So I think he's a naturally more gifted runner from Lance as far as, tucking the ball, making things happen. I don't think he's necessarily as fast as Lance, okay? Throwing the ball, arm strength.
Lance has got a pretty strong
Lance
arm.
has got a cannon. Lance can maybe throw the ball as harder than Malik Willis.
Okay.
But I don't think he can control it the way Malik Willis said. Malik Willis's motion is shorter, and I have less questions about his mechanics than Trey Lance. You heard me with Trey Lance last year. There was things I didn't like about his motion that I worried about in the NFL, and I think everybody kind of saw that once preseason started, where you went, it is. The arm goes down to the knee sometimes, and it's way too long, and the ball doesn't spin, and it's like a knuckleball that he throws hard. Willis, his motion is tight, and even though it's a little bit elbowy, it's not to the point where I go, oh, wow, that's a real problem.
Right.
So it's tight. When he does want to really, put some gas on it, he controls the ball pretty well, and he's got a quick release. To me, he's got the second quickest release out of all these quarterbacks. And Matt Corral at Ole Miss has the quickest. I'm going to give Willis the second quickest release. But now we've said all that, and those are all the positives.
Yeah.
Here's the part of why he's 3. Because to me, there's a lot of projection here. There's really no reading of plays and going through progressions. There's really none. It's the whole year I can count on my hand where he gets to the 3rd guy or goes 1, 2, 3, right? So, hey, of course, and then we're going to get to another guy here in a second where I'm going to tell you he's not the best at getting to 2 and 3 either. But the other part of it I don't like is you don't see that on film, and then there's too many plays. This is, to me, what scared me a little bit, and I think officially made him 3 for me. There's too many plays where I went, wait, that's the first read. He's wide open. Why are we not throwing to him? Why not? And to me, that was a little bit, raw and bothered me as well. So you don't get to see a ton of variety of throws. You don't get to see a reading of the field, and I think it was a little bit of in my opinion, watching him of drop back, look at the rush, let me make a move, and then I'm going to make a throw to somebody who's now come open from me scrambling and make the throw that way. That's cool, but I don't know if that's realistic in the NFL on a down basis.
Right. You answered this one. Robert Trees Stan says, if Malik Willis has a good pro day, is there any way the Lions don't take him at number 2? Seems like a luxury they can afford. You've said you would not do that, but then you also described him favorably in comparison to Trey Lance, who obviously one team thought he was good enough last year for number 3 overall, so maybe there is a possibility. But about the pro day, and we do have the pro days coming up, and so maybe you can revisit some of these after that.
Yep.
Kenny Pickett is today, actually. Malik Willis is tomorrow. You got Matt Corral Wednesday. Ridder is Thursday. Do these pro days change it at all for you? What you see at these pro days, or not really?
I think they can add a little icing on the top, really.
Like they can confirm what you think, maybe.
Confirm what you think, or even like Zach Wilson last year. You go, oh wow, it's so easy for him. He can go out there and just say, I'm going to show off and show you my ass today.
Right.
Right. That's when you go, oh shit, it's real. Like he's cocky enough to go, I'm going to do a workout that nobody's done this year and kind of show you all.
Yeah.
That's where you go, oh, okay.
Yeah. You like moon the scouts.
Right. This is exactly right. You're like, oh, okay, this is Steph Curry. He's hitting 40-yard bombs. I mean, 40-foot bombs against nothing.
If I was a scout, I wouldn't like that. I'd go, put your rear away.
Put your rear away.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
so it's a possibility, but yeah. Okay.
So it's a possibility. And I think, too, for people who haven't seen him in person or anything like that, maybe he can, a coach has watched him on film, right? Now he sees him, oh, damn, his arm stronger than I thought on film.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, damn, man. He puts the ball right where he wants to every time. Oh, the ball spins perfectly.
Yeah.
There's going to be people out there that the in-person look test is going to help him out.
Can be the opposite, too. You can be like, oh, wow, I thought he was maybe a little bit faster, or I thought he did throw a little bit harder. Cash Money Fork says, do you agree with the boom or bust narrative surrounding Malik Willis? Is he boom or bust?
I don't know if I want to say boom or bust. I just think that there's a guy out of all these where I look at to just go, he might need, a little more to develop. Not. I mean, the guys we talked about already, no. Howell and Ridder, no. He's every bit as ready as they are. Yeah, there's some things about his game that maybe you wish he could go through reads like Howell, but he's physically more gifted than those guys. But no, just as far as, hey, playing in the NFL consistency type throws, adjusting your eye to what's open. That was another thing I'm sitting here in my notes.
Yep.
There was too many times where he was looking at the guy, and I want to go, he's open. You got to throw that. And I think he's going, well, he's not open enough. I'd like him to be more open, to feel comfortable, right? And that to me sometimes speaks to maybe not great confidence in your accuracy when you really got to pump it in there and make the right throw. And he can, because there's plenty of evidence of him going, whoa, you threw a laser 25 down the middle here, and he was tightly covered.
Yeah.
But what I don't get is the next drive, you had three guys doing the same route, and they were wide open, and he didn't throw it. I don't know that. And that, to me, I think is what, was a little concerning, or what there needs to be a little work done there. Again, and it's the competition's certainly going to be a little different too.
Doesn't trust his arm maybe sometimes when he should.
Just doesn't trust the accuracy of his arm. He trusts his arm because he makes some hole shots where it's cover two and he looks in the flat and the corner jumps up to a guy in the flat, and now he's got to fit the ball in the hole, the receiver up the sideline before the safety gets there, and he can do it with ease.
Yeah,
he really can. So that's where you really like what he does for sure.
He's kind of a soft-spoken guy. In the interview with you, and I don't know how much, it's like Howell. You can see like he sounds like an NFL quarterback.
Yeah,
you can hear him at the podium. You can hear him in the huddle. Like I don't know how much. Like I don't know what Malik is like around the football team. But I always wondered about that, like a quarterback who's like more soft-spoken, and is that like the teams look at that and go, I'd like my quarterback a little more.
There is teams that are going to like that. They're going to like that. But if they start to hear too that he's soft-spoken, but man, the locker room loved him,
right?
And he was able to lead them whenever he needed to.
Sounds like he was able to do that,
right?
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, so what? He just does it his own way,
right?
But Deshaun Watson, again. Forget the off-the-field stuff, everybody out there. I'm just talking about, I don't think he's like, rah, 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 rah. He was kind of that quieter type guy.
Sure.
But you just went, man, I'm confident because he's fucking confident as hell, and he never seems to be flustered by anything.
Right.
So, there's a lot to like there. There definitely is. There's a little work that needs to be cleaned up in his football game. And, of course, coming from Liberty, competition, the running, those are things I question a little bit. The seeing of the field, the accuracy into tight windows, the fact that you don't get to see a lot of going through reads or anything like that.
Right.
That's where I would say. And compared to Howell and the other guys we're going to hit on here in a second, in Corral and Pickett, I thought he was not as good as working the pocket, staying in there to go to the second and third read, maybe as much as the other two were either. But throws a very catchable ball. He is accurate, I think, all in all. When he sees a target and where he wants to, like I said, he just has to adjust his eye a little bit, throws spirals, and again, the arm is real. And he can do it like we talked about the quick release,
right?
And he doesn't need a ton of space. It's probably something I should have brought up with some of the other guys. And when I say that is like, if you got a guy bearing down on him right in his face, and there's a 20-yard out route that's open, he can kind of hang on his back foot and go, I don't need to step in this. I can just kind of flick it out there, and we can still make it happen. And again, that's life in the NFL, especially if you're going to be, on probably a poorer team to start your NFL career.
All right, some good tools there, good raw tools. You'd like to have seen a little bit more diversity in the offense that he ran there. Not that he can't do it, but that he just didn't. You didn't get to see it, and so that's a question mark. So now we're down to the final two.
Yeah.
Are we into the first round territory quarterbacks here?
Well, I think so, and I think Pickett.
Willis?
Pickett. Willis is a
round?
Yes. He's to me is around there. I look at it and just go. I think you could see at 20 Pittsburgh be interested, and then somewhere in that range. That's where I would kind of say it goes. And again, who knows? If these teams start to get a feel that some team might be hot on them, it is the quarterback position. We know that they can be overvalued in this. But, I don't know. I just want to make sure. Yeah, I think I hit it all.
I think you did.
I didn't leave anything out there.
Well-rounded critique of Malik Willis. All the warts that he has, but all the good things that he can bring to a team, too. So that brings us to number 2. You've mentioned a couple names here in Corral and Pickett.
Trying to throw it off, baby. I'm trying to not let
exactly where you're
going to
go here. Maybe you'll go off the board and go Jack Cohen. You didn't even talk about it yet.
Seriously. Number 2, Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. All right. Really good football player. The most ready right now of all the quarterbacks. The safest pick of the NFL quarterbacks in this draft, if you want to say that too. He's the safest. He is what he is. All right? That's what I'll say. Like, you know what you're getting with Kenny Pickett. You're getting the guy that can play the position truest to form out of this draft, out of this group of quarterbacks in this draft class. The most NFL ready, from understanding protections to reading the field to processing the information pre-snap, post-snap, going through the reads. Definitely, incredibly accurate thrower, especially in the intermediate range, like we talked about. 5-10 yard throws. He's on the money for the most part all the time. Good size, right? Plays pretty big too. I think he's 6'3" and change, 222, 218,
217 maybe at the combine.
Yeah, but plays big. Awesome in the pocket, Amin. Awesome. I mean, really, like awesome. Awesome in not only he's a good athlete. He's twitchy. He can make people miss. There's good pop in his feet. So he can make people miss in the pocket that way, but also just he has a great natural feel of where the pocket is and where to step into and be safe so he can still make the throws. And then when doing that, he's almost always in great position to throw the football. So that's where he's really good. Can run and go rip off a 10-yard gain, definitely. So there's all that aspects to like about it. The motion's pretty smooth. It's great. It's a hair over the top for me. It's a little bit over the top. I wish it was, like we always talk about. I like to see people, their follow-through, end up on the opposite pectoral more than the opposite pocket. Does that make sense? You got that? Right?
I'm going to whip across your body.
So if you watch Rodgers or Mahomes, when they're really trying to warm up in pregame or anything, the throw is here because they want to throw the ball with power that way. So if you bring the arm from here to here, you're not doing that. Your power can't go that way if it's going, vertical, right? So that's where I'd like to see Pickett have a little bit, more of a sense of coming around the ball that way. So those are all the things that he really does well, okay? But I'll say within all of that, I don't say wow about anything with Kenny Pickett physically. Like I don't go, there's not one area where I go, wow. At the same time, there's not one area where I go, oh, this is an issue and we really got to fix this, right? So I don't know if I necessarily see any trait that is real elite,
right?
Other than the fact that the guy can play quarterback and that he is the most polished and ready to go of the group of this draft class. There's no question about that.
So not elite, but still above average.
Definitely above average.
Like
definitely
arm strength,
above
accuracy.
Exactly right. NFL arm, without a doubt, can make all the throws. Throws a pretty deep ball for the most part. He really does. I wish he was a more aggressive decision maker. I'll tell you, that was a little bit of a negative to me. A lot of the big throws and big plays down the field were like game plan called shots. Very few came within the rhythm of the offense. And what I mean by that is like when people might go, what does that mean? I mean, when they wanted to throw a big play, it was like something they knew they were going to call all week for the big play. And the coach finally was like, got a feel and went, hey, when I call this play, I want the big play. Where, you know, what I mean within the rhythm of the offense is, hey, this is a play that, you know, there's a comeback on the right. We got a shallow cross on the left. We got a 10-yard in cut behind it. And we got a post all the way out on the other side that's going to run it over the top of everybody. And, you know, certain coverages or go through your reads, hey, every now and then you get to the post and do that. To me, there was none of that. That makes sense at all? You know, he kind of knew when he was going to take those shots. So that would be the thing I would look at. But does throw the ball well on the run. And, you know, like I said, I think as far as quarterback play and putting it all together, right now he's the best. But there's just not, like I said, I think that one thing that makes me go, oh, my gosh, that is awesome. I see a superstar right there.
Kind of sounds like Mac Jones a little bit last year.
There's
similar.
There is some of that.
He does a lot of things really, really well.
Right. It does a lot of things really, really well. His feet actually are probably not as good as Mac Jones in the pocket. And then Mac Jones' ability to hit the bullseye and tight coverages and make the right decisions, like I said last year, was as good as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But Pickett is right there with him. Pickett is a bigger man and a better athlete than Mac Jones, though, for sure. I mean, Pickett's going to be able to escape the pocket and make some throws. He's going to be able to, here's a lane, and like I said, get 8-10 yards and do that. So those aspects he has more than Mac Jones. His arm is probably a little bit stronger, but the accuracy, the spinning of the football, the anticipation, maybe not quite up to Mac Jones, what we saw last year, which was special for college football.
Phil Trajanovich asked a question about Mac Jones, saying that he looked very similar to Pickett there, so that answers that question. But D-Caw 90, the elephant in the room on Kenny Pickett is Pickett's hand size being overblown. How does hand size really affect the quarterback's play? So he went to the combine. His hand size, 8.5 inches?
It's the smallest in the NFL.
Would be the smallest in the NFL.
Right.
Taysom Hill's at 8 3/4 inches. He wears gloves. He wears a glove on his throwing hand, which you're not a glove guy.
No,
you don't
I'm
like
not.
that?
No.
You don't like it?
No.
Take that glove off? You almost take that glove off?
Well, I'd like to, but he has a
refused?
real issue with his thumb. Like, there's something wrong with his throwing hand thumb where he can't quite extend it all the way.
So that gives him a smaller hand size?
So it does. He can't really spread it out all the way. Like, he showed me. It's kind of like stuck like this.
Interesting.
Yes. So the glove is needed for him to grip the football, I think, the way he wants. I don't like the glove.
So like his finger.
It's part of the reason he comes over the top with the football. It's hard to throw it sidearm with the glove and all that because the glove sticks to the fucking ball. So there's that aspect.
But he says you just don't overgrip it, and he's been throwing with a glove since his
forever.
Pop Warner days.
I know.
So it might be part of his body. He's like, I don't notice a difference between glove and hand.
It is. You know, we'll see. You know, I do think there's sometimes I see some things mechanically where I go, you know, I think the glove affects that throw, or you know, the ball didn't spin as good because you were able to like kind of keep even though your arm and your body were all in a position, you let your wrist get floppy because why? Because the ball was gripping the glove was gripping the ball instead of you being like, no, here's the ball, right? Like Patrick Mahomes doesn't let his man, this ball is slick. He doesn't let his wrist and stuff slip all the way. His wrist is locked in there, and then he does, let me throw it here or there or there or there, but it's locked. There's times like Pickett, I could see the looseness, and I think it affects his accuracy in the spinning of the football. So that would bother me. He has, out of those guys we talk, out of Corral, Malik Willis, he is the third quickest release of that crew there. Like, to get the ball out of his hands, quick game, screens, he's not as quick as he can't just flick it like they can.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, compared to Malik Willis, and there's no off-platform throws. I didn't see any sidearm or different type of ways to get the ball to receivers.
And you need to do that in the NFL.
You do definitely in this day and age. Can you get away with it without doing it? Yeah, I can certainly point quarterbacks out, but I think the really good ones. Oh wait, I don't have a huge lane to throw to. Well, who the cares? I'll just drop it down 3/4 and throw a laser to their sidearm, and they'll get through there. And that's what they do, and that's life in the NFL. Like we talked about, let alone some of the RPO game and the screens we talk about. That is when you need to be able to go, oh, wait, I just got to get it out real quick, or I got to flick it, or I fake the ball, and, there's a little lane between the linebacker and the defensive end. Let me get it out sidearm and do that. I don't see that, and that's where Malik Willis and Corral certainly had an advantage over him.
But you rank him higher than Malik Willis because you think it's more likely that he is a serviceable NFL player.
I just think right now it's not. Malik Willis has more upside. Let me make that very clear. I think Malik Willis has more of an upside than Kenny Pickett. But again, some of the things we've seen with Malik Willis and what I would like to be fixed, they're not as easy as just like we talk about it and just go, well, he needs to fix that. There are things that I go, no, they're tangible. It's real. To where I'd like a little more growth there before I just put him there. I recognize there is more top-end talent for sure. But I think the fact of the rawness and, like I said, the not going through reads, maybe not seeing a lot of throws into tight windows, passing down the number one read where you go, wait, he's open. I don't know what he's looking at. There was just a little too much of that to me to go, okay, the potential now bumps up over the guy who's actually the better player, right? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Did I explain that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's just I still have a few too many questions there. With Pickett, like I said, there's really no questions.
Yeah. Is there room to grow?
There is room to grow, but I don't think it's like going to be a ton.
Yeah.
I don't. Again, we talked a little bit about the mechanical stuff to where I think that could help him throw better spirals, could maybe make him throw the ball with a little bit better power. But no, I think what you see is kind of what you're getting from him. I love his patience in the pocket, like we talked about. Very good decision maker.
He kind of came out of nowhere, too. And I don't know, we're talking 2020. He had, 13 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, I think Pete wrote here. And this past year, he's breaking records.
Yeah.
Breaking Dan Marino's and Deshaun Watson's conference record.
Well, he's been there for 6 years. Played a ton of football.
He is one of the older soon to be 24.
So that's what he's got over the rest of the group. And that's where, again, if you're one of these teams that's looking to go, wait, we kind of need a guy that's kind of ready this year, and there is no bust factor. There might not be quite the superstar factor we want, but then Kenny Pickett's your guy. To me, that's where he fits in, for that kind of thing. I just want to make sure I didn't miss
a lot of value
here.
in a guy that can come in and steady the ship, the boat. If things are going down, your starting quarterback is out for a couple of weeks. A lot of value in guys like that, especially if you can get them on rookie contracts.
I heard Danielle Jeremiah, I believe, I think it was, and I listened to DJ. I think he might have said Matt Hasselbeck, and I understand what he sees there.
Yeah.
I don't think he's as gifted his arm as Matt Hasselbeck. Matt Hasselbeck, I think, is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the history of football, in my opinion. But I understand what he's saying there. There's a twitchiness, a quickness, the ability to, diagnose and then put it into action very quickly. Like I said, even pre-snap, you could tell he knew, oh, wait, this doesn't make sense against this coverage. I'm going to get to the number 3 read pretty quick here because I know 1 and 2 versus this coverage are not necessarily going to be wide open.
All right, Kenny Pickett from New Jersey. Don't underestimate those New Jersey guys. We learned it at the top of the podcast here, although he did root for the Eagles, and so maybe that's why you have him at number 2. Big-time Eagles fan. The guy you have at number 1 is the one quarterback in your top 5 who did not talk to you at the combine. He blew you off.
I walked by him a few times.
Yeah.
But I observed him a lot, as I always do with these guys. But I know it was my disappointment of the combine.
It shows that you don't hold a grudge. You don't hold a grudge for blowing you off.
I don't even know what happened. I don't know. He might have been like, F him, I don't want to talk about him. I don't know.
Well, he won't be like that anymore now. Your number 1 quarterback in the 2022 NFL draft quarterback class is
Matt Corral, Ole Miss. Oh yeah, baby.
You're higher on him than most.
I'm sure I am.
Not everyone, but most.
Okay, yeah. Again, I haven't really paid attention to where everybody's got everybody ranked yet, and you know me. There's only a few people I really pay attention to, anyways, and not that I'm going to agree with them, but I like to listen to them and hear what they got to say about it always. But all right, so let's just get to the basics here. Here's the basics, okay? Insane athlete. He's the quickest quarterback in the draft. There's nobody with quicker feet, can make people miss, great acceleration, pop his feet to get back into throwing positions. Wait, I moved out of it. I made somebody miss. Oh, wait, I got to get it back into position to throw the ball 15 yards down the middle. Nobody can do that as quick as Matt Corral, let alone it's the quickest release in the draft, too. It's as quick a release as I've seen in coming out of college football in a few years,
really?
actually. Yes, it's almost to the point at times where I'd go, man, I wish he'd let his arm go a little bit more at times. It almost looks like it's like, you have to slow it down sometimes. You're almost like, how did he get it out that quick with that much power? And it literally looked like he just took it from his ear and was threw it like a dart. That's how quick and compact the delivery is, all right? Then we get into the arm strength. I mean, the arm strength is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. The ball absolutely flies out of Matt Corral's hands. To me, he's made for the modern day NFL. Oh, bootlegs on the move, play action pass. It's the deep post of the in cut and then make something happen and run. Oh, okay, this guy can run. I think Matt Corral is faster than all the other quarterbacks. He's the fastest quarterback of this group. Like I told you earlier, I think he beats Malik Willis in a race. I think Kenny Pickett beats Malik Willis in a race. I don't think they can break tackles and make people miss like Malik Willis can, but I think they can beat them in a race. Corral, he's the most accurate thrower in the draft, too. He is. I don't know what his numbers are. I don't even really fucking care. I know when he sees a target, he can put the ball and the money into the tightest windows out of anybody in this draft. Now, Pickett gets to do more of it within the normal rhythm of traditional offensive plays. The offense in Ole Miss is a little different. And a lot of it is there's the RPO stuff, which he's really gifted at. He can do sidearm. He can do both feet off the ground and still throw the ball with great power. He can get the ball out of his hands like Rodgers can on screens where you go, damn, he caught the ball, faked as somebody, and kind of hopped out of the way and threw it all in the same motion and got it out there and did that. So all of that, to me, was top-notch. There's a lot of elite traits with Matt Corral, let alone he's bigger than what I thought and he's faster than what I thought. Now, the one thing is, he's got to put it all together. It's not all together there yet. I wish we did see a little bit more of let's go through reads. There's some of that, but, a little bit like a Malik Willis or some of the other guys we've talked about, a lot of the times it's just look at one guy and I'm going to run or tuck it away.
Yeah.
And, yes, he's got to improve on that. But
a lot of play action, 60% of the time.
Because he's amazing at it.
Highest in FBS.
Sure. I could see that. Again, everything's built into play. Every play is, RPO, fake this, fake that, fake this, fake. That's all they do there in Ole Miss. So it's just part of the offense. And he's a great.
You don't have concerns that he couldn't handle a system that was less reliant on play action?
No, I don't. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't. Again, now if I start to hear things where I go, people are starting to say he's an idiot and he doesn't learn things like that. I go, oh crap, okay. So maybe that's why they were doing that and that. But I don't know that. Again, I'm going off of what I've seen on film.
And he wouldn't talk to you. He refused to talk to you. Maybe that's why.
But I don't see like
a guy who doesn't run the 40.
I don't see reckless decisions, right? I'm not going to say he's perfect from that standpoint. He's not as good as Kenny Pickett, okay? But he certainly knows how to take care of the football, let alone, like I said, there's some parts of his game that I think are, are next level elite. I do. And I look at him and go, yeah, we got to fix some of the quarterback stuff. But when you talk about modern day NFL, RPOs, accuracy, get the ball out of your hands with, quickness and pace. It's as good as anybody we've seen coming out in the draft the last few years. It's quick as hell. Bootlegs, anything like that, getting him on the run. He's the best thrower in the draft on the run, period. Nobody throws the ball better. Like I said, if he runs a bootleg and it presents himself, he's the kind of guy that can rip off a 30-yard run. He has that type of speed, but and then you talk about in the pocket, he's got great movement. I wish he was more patient in the pocket, like I said, because he's one of these guys, how we talk about sometimes like great runners. Yeah, okay, sometimes they rely on that, right? Yeah. And I'm like, the whole life when the first guy wasn't open, I just run. He's gets stuck on the first read. Why? His arm is so great, he's always been able to get it into the first read for the most part. So he's always going, wait, this is the play we designed it for. I usually get it in there. I'll get it in there. Right. And then he will tuck it and run a little too quick at times, definitely. But some of the high-end talent is real. And the negatives, to me, again, are just, going through the reads. Okay, yes, right? That's where I kind of get into it, and I don't go through a whole lot of other things that I think really bother me, other than maybe I wish he was a little thicker of a human being, but he measured out bigger than what I expected anyways.
6'2", 212. He turns 23 in January, so still quite young. Some scouts describe him as an athlete who happens to play quarterback. But that would be the question, the injuries, right? He played in that bowl game, which was cool. Not that I was talking about this with Pete before the podcast. I don't hold that against guys who don't play in the bowl game because I get it, right? You don't need to. You've proved everything. Right. You don't want to get hurt. You're about to cash in on an NFL career. But I do have a lot of respect for players who say, no, I want to play. I want to play with my teammates. And that's what he did, although he did get hurt early on in that game with an ankle injury. Kept him out of some drills at the combine now. I mean, so that, we've seen that before with injuries. Some of them are freak injuries, but he has had a few, and you wonder if you get tabbed with injury prone, that label.
Sure. It's, hey, we always look at this type of stuff, especially quarterback position. He does have a slight frame, but it was one of the things I think when I saw him in person,
you did your evaluating of legs and rear.
It was the first thing I jumped off. I went, he's not going to measure at 6 foot. I mean, everything I looked at going out of the combine, everyone was like, he's going to be 6 foot. He's going to be 6.5 feet or something like that. And I went, no. I just met Malik Willis. He's bigger than Malik Willis. He was taller. I know he wasn't quite as thick. So that made me feel better. Let alone, I felt like, on film, he plays bigger than what I thought anyways, too. He stands tall in the pocket. He looks like he has pretty long arms. I didn't come away going, oh, man, he looks small out there. I did think that a little bit with Baker Mayfield coming out in the draft, if you go back and listen to stuff I said then. Mm-hmm. So that made me feel better about him as well.
Jacob Shapiro says Matt Corral kind of has that Phillip Rivers release. My baseball coaches always said to get your arm back, and they don't. Isn't that a problem?
It definitely would like him. To me, he's got a little of it's like he's got to let it relax, let it go a little bit. It's almost like Aaron Rodgers coming out in college where you go, whoa, holy cow, how does he throw the ball that hard with the ball at his ear the whole time? I don't understand how he does that. And so it's something I look at to go, it'll make him a better thrower if it wasn't so quick and tight, but his arm is extremely flexible. Like when I go into super slow motion, some of these throws, I mean, his arm is flexing. That's how he can make it look or throw the ball that hard with such a short, tight, compact motion. But to our question here, and it's a very good observation by them, because there is one thing that Matt Corral does a little bit like Phillip Rivers, this is his biggest mechanical issue. And this is the only time he really misses throws. He leans on his front foot too much. Now, because his arm's so strong and it's so quickly flexible, he can get away with it a lot. But what I mean by that as I stand up here is, again, like we've talked about, when you want to be a thrower, you want to be almost here more, right? Lean on that back leg. Maybe the shoulders are level to slightly tilted up rather than he at times can be like this. Lean forward, and it can lend him to, okay, there's the tight end running a 10-yard out. He's gifted and has such a strong arm that he can get away with it at times where he can still just throw a laser like belly button high and it get there. But if he's just a little off, it'll lead to him throwing the ball at the guy's knees or at the ankles. And that's where he's got to fix off. So he's got to get a little out of this from being here to get back to here, and he'll be able to throw lasers anywhere. Now, he does it. And again, that's one of the things I'd like him to fix. But why he's number one is I see plenty of throws where he is in the right position. And two, like we talked about, life in the modern-day NFL. Yeah, moving in the pocket, throwing balls off platform. Not a lot of room to throw this football. He needs no room to throw the ball. It's like a fucking optical illusion at times, Ahmed, with him. Like where you go, did that ball really, like a little like we talked about Malik Willis, where you go, did that ball really go 25 yards? It didn't look like it went more than 4 feet off the ground to get there. And he had a guy in his face. And that's where you just go, whoa, like, holy shit, let alone it's a perfect fucking spiral and it's spinning hard. So, yeah, that's what I wrote. And, my end note was like, hey, the kid is not perfect, but he's got more ability than I was expecting. Better runner than I thought. The arm is more explosive than I thought. We got to fix that forward, lean a little bit. But the arm is elite. The quickness in his release is elite. The quickness in his feet and how he moves there is also elite. He has to go through reads better, but he doesn't need space in the pocket to make great throws. There is a ton of upside in this kid and way more upside than Pickett, I wrote. It's just not as good as playing the position as Pickett quite yet.
Well, so that I was just going to say.
Yeah.
It sounds like in a quarterback class who a lot of people are debating where these guys and they're kind of interchangeable. You might have a guy 1, I have him 3. That's not that big a deal. It kind of sounds like you have a fairly significant gap between him and everyone else.
To me, I think he's the guy for sure. A definite. Like I said, Pickett's the safe one. There's a hair of a projection here.
Yeah.
But to me, it's a projection where I go, even though the things we're concerned about, if you want to come home with me and watch some film, I'm going to show you 20, 30 plays to go, see, he can do this the right way. Here's plenty of evidence. It's not just like we saw it once. I can go through it and go, no, I saw it plenty of times to go, I feel good about it. Let alone for a strong-arm guy, he's not too reckless. You go back to last year when he had a little more talent around him, man, there are a lot of high-level freaking throws, too, that make you even feel a little bit better about what you saw this year. But, yes, the next phase for him is like we talked about. It's kind of just putting it all together as far as, clean up that little mechanical issue, learn to go to 1 to 2 to 3. He's too much Ahmed where he goes, 20-yard out route. And then you go, oh, come on, here comes the crosser 20 yards down the field. Throw it to him now. The out route wasn't open 20 yards to your left. Here comes the crosser. Go to it. No, there's too many times where he goes 20-yard out route. Oh, let me just find the check down, and I throw the check down where you go, no, you had time in the pocket. Stand in there. You got a great arm. Just do it. That's what you got to do. But to me, that's not like an overly concerning thing. I don't go, oh, man, that really bothers me. He'll learn that. And like I said, I have enough plays to go, okay, I see him go through the reads here. I do see that. And then I think when you couple that with what I see in some of the elite physical traits there, that's why I make him the number 1 quarterback. And to me, yes, he clearly has the biggest upside, and it's not like it's a project here. It's raw. Mm-hmm. You could play with Matt Corral next year in the NFL, play actions, boots, and screens, and he's going to be able to do things and make some throws where you go, well, we can build on this and grow this guy into something.
How high would you take him?
I mean, Corral, in my opinion, is the only guy that has the talent of talking top 10-ish kind of guy there. So to me, he is there in that. Again, where we get into this conversation is if Tua can go 5, then Marat Corral certainly can too, in my opinion. All right? But as I think we all know, Tua was a little overvalued, and we'll see. But I would think,
which is interesting. So you think,
I look at Corral and go, man, the New Orleans Saints at 18. If they're looking for the quarterback of the future, man, he fits that. He'll fit that system. West Coast, boom, incredibly accurate, like I talked about, quick release, Drew Brees type stuff. Except he's got more power in his arm to really make like some big time plays and throws. And I look at that. I mean, it seems like the Eagles are going to stay with Jalen Hurts there. So 15 and 16, I don't look at that. The Texans, I don't expect them to go quarterback. It seems like they're going to stay pat with Davis Mills. But I don't know. Maybe they'll look at it and go, you know what, this kid's so talented, I will do that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we're talking about this being a down draft class, and it is. But it could present some good opportunities for teams, right? Where you can get a quarterback who maybe can grow into a legit starter, and you don't have to spend a first or second, a Mitch Trubisky at number 2 to get it.
I think this is one of those years.
This is interesting.
I do. It is. It's it's a year where I know I've told people I could see Detroit, who has the 32nd and 33rd pick of the draft, going, here's some team, take this, and now we're back up in the teens, and we're taking our quarterback of the future there. There's a lot of ways this can go here, certainly. There's no perfect prospect. No doubt about that. I get that. But to me, this is the guy. This is the guy that is the number 1 quarterback in the draft class. He's the guy that has the highest upside, the chance to be the superstar. And yes, it's not perfect, but it's not so raw to where I go, oh, there's a lot of things, there's 3 or 4 things I'm worried about. Oh man, he did the first reads open a lot. He misses that. It's not that. So, again, the things I think he needs to fix are things that I think are fixable, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I think NFL teams, for the most part, the coaches and that, they're just getting into these quarterback things. And I think we'll start to get a feel for how they feel about it here over the next few weeks as things start to get leaked and rumored and all that.
They should just listen to the podcast.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.